Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Farming Simulator on the Vintage Oaks. It's great to have you here again as we move into November on the farm, and today the corn is finally ready for harvest. But first things first, we got some morning chores with the cows to take care of. First job of the day is going to be mucking out the shed. There isn't much manure to shift today, but I like to stay ahead of it. Things will definitely change once we bring in the 40 calves from the paddock for the winter. Then we'll be knee deep in it. Oh, hang on a second. I just noticed the time is still set to 0. If you bear with me a moment, I'll get that sorted out. There we go. Time's back to normal. We're running at 3x speed. Now we can get back to work. I always forget to get the clock moving after setting it to 0 for setup. Alright, I'll just fill up another bucket of manure here before we jump out and take a look at our plans for the day. There we go, all done. Now if we head over to the paddocks for the cows, you'll see the grass is fully grown again. I wasn't planning a second cut before winter, but thanks to the unseasonably warm temperatures these past 2 months, we've got an opportunity for another hay harvest. Uncle Joe is going to get started mowing these 2 pastures while we focus on the corn. We'll leave the third pasture for the cows to graze for another month before moving them to the shed. Waste not, want not, as we expand the dairy herd. Speaking of the herd, we're now up to 15 milking Holsteins after Father Bob bought another 5 cows at the end of the last episode for 10,000. The milk sales have helped us balance the books. We brought in about 9k, which isn't too bad. Now, I can feel Bruno the bull keeping a close eye on me, so I better jump back into the load all before he decides I'm trespassing in his territory. Hello Bruno! So 8 of our 15 cows are in calf right now, so we'll keep Bruno around for another few weeks before letting him out to graze in his pasture. We have no plans to expand the herd any further, as we're now at a manageable size and feeding them is still within our control. We'll probably mix up a batch of total mixed ration at the start of each morning to keep the cows well fed. Once the calves come in next month, we'll likely need to increase that to 2 mixes each day to make sure everyone's getting enough to eat. I'll detach the front bucket and leave it here for now, since we'll need to get connected to the bale shredder next. I better get the gate closed on the pen before the herd decides to make a run for it. The girls are happy munching away, but it's Bruno I'm keeping an eye on. Thankfully he's content where he is for now, keeping himself occupied. Alright, let's bring up the PDA and see how things are shaping up around the farm. Over where we're located on the east side of the map, fields 112 is ready for the corn harvest. Field 111 and 113 have their seedbeds prepared and will be both planted with corn next season. The winter barley we seeded in the last episode is just starting to sprout. As for the soil, all our fields are very low on nitrogen, but we'll tackle that in early spring when we should have plenty of slurry and manure in storage. I'll throw some narrow tyres on the 8210 and spread some solid fertiliser on the barley. When we plant the corn, we'll apply some nitrogen to the fields to cover fields 111 and 113. And since we'll be planting soybeans in field 112, no nitrogen will be needed there. We also plan to spread some cow slurry on the grass fields in the next episode before the winter slurry ban comes into effect. It's a great way to give the grass a boost before the colder months set in. Our last job before we get started with the corn harvest is to shred some straw bales for the cows. You just get connected up here to the bale shredder. With the manure produced, we'll spread it out before planting the corn to boost the nitrogen levels of the soil, which in turn will reduce our solid fertiliser costs when the time comes for planting. Right, I'll just load up the straw bale, lower down the grab. We'll be good to go now to shred the bale. While that's unloading, I just want to give a quick shout out to those who commented in the last video. Ed is always jumping in with words of encouragement, so cheers for that, mate, it's much appreciated. Jonathan had me laughing while noting that the dusty lands cranked up too high for seeding in the UK, and rightly so. I appreciate the feedback on the video. I'm always open to suggestions how to improve my content. But the biggest surprise of all, the man himself, Scroft. For me, he's the OG of farming simulator content, and seeing that he watched the video and subscribed to the channel had me absolutely buzzing. Honestly, it was watching Scroft's videos and how he created his montages and cinematics that inspired me to start making my own. So for me personally, it meant a huge deal to read his comments. I can't imagine how busy he must be with his Farmhand series, which is on a whole another level completely, along with his Survival and Let's Farm series. So to find time to watch a video from a tiny creator like myself and leave a few words of encouragement is just incredible. So a huge shout out to Scroft for that. Alright, I better stop talking or we'll never get this harvest started. I'll get this parked up, jump in the harvester and catch up with you soon. We're just making our way over to the field to get the corn harvest started. Unfortunately, we hit a bit of bad news after connecting up the corn header. There was a loud clunking sound when we powered it up. After a quick inspection, it looks like a damaged drive shaft could be the culprit. Thankfully, the dealer had an 8-row header we can use while ours in for repair. The younger sister is on her Halloween holidays from school, so she is going to be on carting duties. Although she couldn't have picked a worse spot to park if she tried. Too busy staring at her phone to realise she's right in my way. Just about managed to squeeze through. Alright, let's get everything unfolded and powered up. I'll catch up with you once we're done to see how we got on. Well, that took much longer than I initially anticipated. The header we borrowed from the dealer kept running aground, which really slowed us down, and after all that effort, the harvest looks pretty disappointing. I'll get this parked up and we can take a look at the final numbers to confirm just how poor the yields were. Just shy of 35,000 litres of corn, definitely not what we were hoping for. Now bear with me a moment while I try to make things sound complicated. For example, if we were to use 24,000 litres of beans as protein, covering the 20% requirement for pig feed, in an ideal world we would need to be harvesting around 60,000 litres of corn to meet 50% of their base food. This would give us a total of 120,000 litres of feed for pigs. But in reality, due to the poor corn harvest, we only have 35,000 litres of corn, which is 50% for base food, 17.5 thousand litres of wheat at 25% for grains, and we're only able to use 14,000 litres of our beans to meet the 20% protein requirement. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the end result of the disappointing corn harvest leaves us with just 66.5 thousand litres of pig feed, while we're aiming to meet the 95% of their feeding requirements. Sure, we could use the remainder of our corn and beans, but that would only cover 45% of their total requirement, which would likely impact the success of our breeding operation. It's also going to dictate how many pigs we can realistically raise and keep on the farm this year. I know I mentioned earlier that we'd plant beans next season as part of our crop rotation plan, but with this result I've changed my mind. I'll replant corn instead and focus on getting the soil up to the correct nitrogen and pH levels. I'm really curious to see how much of a difference this will make for next season's harvest return. Right, now the corn harvest is out of the way, there's still plenty for us to get on with. Let's go check to see how Uncle Joe got on with mowing the grass. Looking good. Plenty of nice big swaths of grass. Last time we mowed the top paddock we got close to 40,000 litres of hay. So I reckon we might get around 60,000 litres this time with mowing both the paddocks. Thanks to the unexpected warm spell, it's great to have the chance to stock up on the extra feed for the animals. I'll jump in the 165 and give the grass a quick turn over with the hay bob before we get started with the baling. I think Uncle Joe might have captured some footage of the mowing, so I'll throw it all into a quick montage and catch back up with you when we're done. If you've come here to see some tidy bale stacking, I'm afraid you've come to the wrong place. Either my controller is broken or I need to adjust my dead zones because something keeps activating the accelerator. And trust me, that's the last thing you want to happen when you're trying to load bales onto a trailer. The light's almost gone, so we've decided to stack all the bales at the edge of the field so we can find a flat spot to load them up. We're using the tractor's headlights to give us as much light as possible so we can see what we're doing. I'll keep the bale grab now as low as possible as I approach the trailer, so if we accelerate forward, hopefully we'll hit the trailer instead of the bales and push them off the other side. And there we go, it does it again at the worst time. The bale's now out of position, leaving us with no room to get the next one on. Right, look away now because this isn't going to be pretty. I'm just going to try and force these into place. That didn't go as planned. Let's apply a bit more force at the bottom of the grab. Okay, stop, this is just making it worse. Maybe a gentle push forward will get them to fall into place now. There we go, with a bit more room, maybe we can lift them into position. Moving slowly here, 1 foot on the brake to stop us lurching forward and knocking off the bales, whatever's causing that issue. Persistence is the key here, and a lot of patience, which I usually don't have most of the time. Right, we'll throw these last few bales on top and we're done. With these extra hay bales, I think we might double down on our beef stock come spring. We got plenty of capacity now with these 3 grass paddocks, especially once the grass starts to regrow again next March. I think we'll split them up with the weaners in one paddock and the heifers in another. Then we can use the hay when the calves get down to the last growth stage in each paddock to give time for the grass to regrow. Final bale to load up, and then we're done at long last. Good job Father Bob wasn't here to witness me struggling with these bales. You'd hear him losing the plot from miles away. I can only imagine him shouting, "What are you doing, lad?" while holding his head in disbelief before storming over to show me how it's done, especially with the pressure on to get them loaded and back home before nightfall. Speaking of which, he's on his way down now to bring the load all back, help unload these bales. Let's get them home and we call it a day. Right, if we bring up the hood, we can see we've loaded up over 70,000 litres of hay, which isn't bad at all, especially given this wasn't even on the agenda last month. That's definitely going to come in handy for growing our beef stock moving forward. In the next episode, we're moving into December, which means the much anticipated piglets will be arriving. I can't wait to see how many we get from our 5 sows. We'll have a hefty amount of wheat left over after feeding the pigs, so since our small flock of chickens aren't producing many eggs, we might look at expanding there too. Exciting times ahead. Alright folks, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thanks so much for sticking around. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on everything happening here on Suttons Farm. Drop a comment below if you've got any feedback or suggestions, or just want to say hello. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode. Until next time, take care and see you soon.